The Tokyo Game Show for this year is over, and the only Persona announcement we got is this mobile game. Where the heck is Persona 6? When is Persona 6 coming out? This has been one of the top Persona related searches in Google ever since Persona 5 was released. Are we Persona fans just too impatient? No, that's just one of the qualities that makes up a gamer. But for real though, what is taking up Atlus so long that we barely heard anything about this game? Is it just a myth at this point? Is it something that Persona haters use to scare off fans? Or are these other projects at fault for the delay? Don't worry, because Persona 6 is as real as this collaboration.
No, God!
Well, thankfully, P6 won't scam us like these guys. Yet. But what is exactly happening with its development? When is Persona 6 coming out? Summer 2025. Yep, that is the rumored release date of P6, and there are a lot of valid reasons why we can trust that info. But before we talk about that, if you cannot wait for Persona 6 trailer to drop, then like this video and join Otaku Define for more Persona content.
We cannot pass this up.
Persona 6 will release in summer 2025. But then again, that's just a rumor. So how can we trust this information? It's not like rumors can come true, right? Well, every mainline Persona game actually released in summer dates. Persona 1 and Persona 5 launched in September. Persona 3 and Persona 4 came out in July. Then Persona 2 was released late June. So Persona 6 will absolutely also have a summer release date. Additionally, this information lines up with Atlus' release strategy ever since being acquired by Sega. Earlier this May, it has been reported that Sega's new goal is to make their popular IPs release a game every year. Sega wants to have a Sonic game annually. Sega wants to see Kiryu and Majima fight until they are 90. And Sega wants Atlus to release Persona 6 because it can make a lot of money.
Hello, I like money.
Moreover, if we look at the history of this game series, it seems that Sega's agenda of releasing games every year has been in place well before 2024. Just look at the Yakuza series, from 2014's Ishin to 2025's Pirate Yakuza. During that range, RGG Studio only missed 2 separate years of not releasing games. And to be fair to RGG Studio, they also had 2 different years where they announced 2 or more games. Like in 2018, they released 3 games. Then in 2023, we had Like a Dragon Gaiden and the remake of Ishin. But then, this is the Ryuga Gotoku studio we're talking about. A studio that has been branded as a genius by other developers on their ability in reusing assets to create these amazing games every year. I have a video about that discussing how insane of a game studio RGG is. But Atlus and their team who are responsible for the Persona games cannot operate in a similar style, since the Yakuza games as a 2-decade-long running series has used the same characters, locations, and even animations. That's why reusing a ton of assets is efficient for Like a Dragon games. Compared to Persona games, it hasn't had a sequel entry since Persona 2. Every Persona game is different from the last, as long as you ignore the re-releases. Hence why we haven't heard anything official from Atlus or P Studio about Persona 6 for 8 years and counting. But those 8 long years weren't actually just spent on developing Persona 6. Atlus and P Studio studied how they can become efficient in releasing games, similar to how RGG Studio does it. So can Persona games actually recycle assets? Yes, reusing assets isn't even an alien system to P Studio, since Persona 4 reused a lot of assets from Persona 3. That's why it only took them 1 year to release it after P3 FES. Not to mention, Atlus has been releasing Persona-related media at an almost yearly frequency just after being acquired by Sega in 2013. This was the era of spin-offs, where we get to see the cast of Persona 4 fight in an arena. The next year, we see them marry each other, even crossing to the P3 cast in their cutesy forms. It didn't stop there, as P4 danced all night until eventually Persona 5 was released in 2016. Then of course, we see them creating various spin-offs and a re-release for Persona 5. On top of that, a remake of Persona 3. And don't forget about their gacha game Persona 5X that is now being rebranded in their TGS announcement as a retelling of Persona 5. So does this mean that we should blame these spin-offs, re-releases, and remakes for the lack of Persona 6? No. While it may seem that P Studio are burdened with developing this insane amount of projects just to meet Sega's demand to sell a new Persona entry every year, it actually had an opposite effect. Wada, the chief director of P Studio, has stated that one of their biggest challenges is to improve the development capacity of their organization. And luckily today, they have promising young talents who grew through their projects, deeming it that the studio is now in a better position than ever. This is why P Studio was able to meet the demands of Sega. Their team developed and learned a lot from all those side projects. Persona 5 Tactica that released in 2023 isn't a reason for the delay of P6. Persona 3 Reload that came out this year doesn't mean they'll focus on remakes. These other projects help them develop their growing team to ensure that when Persona 6 comes out, it will be its best version. Because even to this day, they are rethinking their strategies in developing games. They are searching for better ways of adding improvements for their games post-release so that they can avoid the enhanced version a la Persona 5 Royal. Hence why they came into the decision of making Episode Aegis a DLC instead of Persona 3 Reloaded. Aside from that, they are aware of the demand for a female protagonist. Actually, they heard the howling cries for the lack of Kotane in P3R, but that did not derail them to go back to Persona 3 Reload and cook up a DLC for Kotane. And that is not entirely bad, although I do miss Kotane, because Wada has stated in an interview again that they are moving on with other projects. Simply put, P Studio is following a rigid schedule, one that they fully know is optimal for the good of their company while also pleasing the fans. Hence why the studio is now focused on releasing P6 next year, meeting Sega's goal and equipped with the best team of game developers that they could ask for. The summer 2025 release window is becoming more and more of a reality, and this is based on their finished projects, recent announcements, and insightful interviews. And I'm pretty sure that before 2024 ends, Sega Atlus will drop the trailer for the much-awaited Persona 6. And just imagine if we get that in this year's Game Awards. And one of the things that I want to see in that reveal is an evil group of Persona users. I actually made a video about that, so please go ahead and check it out. Join Otaku Define for more Persona content. This is Math, and stay awesome, my dudes.